taking a short break. I will try to keep this brief. Sean called and asked if I would talk about when to refer a patient to a physician. And I said, how long do I have? He said 45 minutes, and I just started laughing. I was like, I really only need about 45 seconds, but it's a hard question to answer. So I'm going to answer that question, but I'm going to answer it at the end of the talk. I don't have any disclosures. Nobody pays me to do anything other than be a doctor. So if you have any opportunities that you're looking to pay me to do, or money on the side kind of stuff, I'm happy to do it. I do have one quote that I like. This kind of dovetails yesterday with the talk on leadership. There is no, which part did I put first? There's no growth in a comfort zone, and there's no comfort in a growth zone. So if you're going to get better, you have to get uncomfortable. And I think that was a really good point made yesterday. And I will also add a point to this morning's talk, is that not all abnormal movement patterns are dysfunctional. So just well, those are the ones I sent Sean about a month ago. I changed it. I crossed out communication because it's an overused word. And I'm going to talk more about teamwork. Teamwork in the multidisciplinary sports world, right? So athletic trainers, raise your hands. There's a bunch of you, right? Physicians, strength and conditioning coaches, physical therapists, all those people. We have big teams that we work with, right, in the sports medicine world. So how do you build that team? How do you nurture that team? How do you be a cog in the wheel of that team? How do you be a leader of that team? All of those things. And then I'll talk more about tools to improve communication, because it is really important. It's probably the number one thing we fall down on, and it's probably the number one frustrating thing when you're working inside of a team. And then at the end, I will talk about a proper plan for triaging patients and who needs to be sent where and when. So in general, we're trying to get to the truth, whatever that truth is, right? This student athlete has this injury. This is how it happened. Whatever that truth is. And there's a lot of things that affect that truth. There's a lot of things that affect our understanding of that truth. And the first thing is really the athlete. What's their story? What happened? What are they telling you? Sometimes it's, I don't know. In fact, a lot of times it's, I don't know what happened. I have no idea. I don't remember. Or I didn't feel it, or whatever. They come in 2 days later and like, yeah, I've been hurting for a week. I'm like, what'd you do? I don't know. So we have to go with ancillary things. Our objective findings. What do we see? What do we feel? Did we do x-rays? Did we do an MRI? Did we do an ultrasound? What did we find with our own eyes? And then their peers, talking to the captains on the team, or talking to their teammates, or talking to their friends that they live with. What's going on? It may not necessarily be about an injury. It may be about a mental health concern, or it may be about some other illness or something like that. How many of you have had to contact trace for COVID? Yeah, I've had to contact trace now right about 500 student athletes for COVID. Nobody remembers when they were around somebody the last time, even their peers. And then what I call OMP, or other medical professionals, right? So this is that multidisciplinary team that we're going to talk about. Strength and conditioning coaches, physical therapists, other people that have evaluated or will evaluate this student athlete and try to get us back to that truth. And then lastly is all of the external stuff. At a high level. Agents are not a lot of fun to talk to, okay? But they give you a lot of information in a lot of different situations, so we utilize that information. And my job today is really to talk about this other medical professionals. I'm going to talk to you about that team, that multidisciplinary team of medical professionals. So because I'm talking to a room full of athletic trainers, I'm going to put the athletic trainer at the top, okay? Congratulations. You are all now in charge of everything. Good job. All right, so underneath that is the physician, the doctor. I'm a primary care sports medicine doctor, so I'm going to say it's the primary care sports medicine doctor. If you're an orthopedic surgeon, they make the list too. And then the physical therapist, okay? This is really that kind of smaller inner circle of who you're normally going to be working with, right? You're going to add on to that too. You're going to have sometimes some PAs and some nurse practitioners, sometimes some psychologists and psychiatrists. Dietitians are a big part of what we do at the college level. Other specialists, so pick a specialty, any specialty, we work with a lot of those. And then the coach also plays a role here, okay? That's strength and conditioning coaches, that's position coaches, that's head coaches, a lot of coaches do play a role in this relationship. They are a part of the team. They have to be communicated with. So how do we make a team functional? There's a big difference between building a team and training a team. So when you're building a team, you're putting those pieces together to make a functional team that's going to achieve the goal, right? So whatever that goal is. If the goal is, I want to put together a team that's going to cure ACL tears. We are never going to have another ACL tear in the history of athletics. That'd be a lofty goal, but you could put a team together to try to accomplish that goal. How do you put that team together? You heard a lot yesterday about personality tests, and those are fine. That's great. It's definitely an eye-opening thing to understand that some people work differently than you do, and you want those people on your team, right? You've got you licked. There's enough of you. You don't need more of you on the team. What you need is somebody that has that common goal that can help you achieve it. And then training that team, getting that team optimized to do the job that they're supposed to do. That's the harder thing sometimes. So what makes the effective team? What makes a good team, right? Clear roles inside of that team. If you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, how can you do it? I certainly can't hold you responsible if I've never told you what you're supposed to be doing. Huddles and debriefing. So those are kind of the bookends of an activity, right? Huddle before. We huddle. We talk about this is what we're going to do today. This is who's going to do it. This is how we're going to get it done. This is how we're going to measure whether we got it done. Because if you don't measure things that you do, does it really matter? And then the debrief. We've done those things. We're going to get back together and we're going to talk about how that went. This is the feedback. Feedback, feedback, feedback. You're always wanting feedback. It's the number one things kids talk about. So how many of you have uttered the phrase, kids these days are just different? I literally say it 10 times a day. Kids these days are just different. Your parents said it about you. Your grandparents said it about them. Everybody's different. Every generation has its thing, right? So if we don't learn how to work together with those people, at some point we're going to become obsolete and we're never going to have a functional team. So that feedback is really important because maybe the 25-year-old kid, and I say 25-year-old kid because they're children, but that 25-year-old kid isn't thinking about something the same way. Val said something earlier that really hit me. She goes, yeah, I was doing this and I see it all over Instagram. I don't see anything all over Instagram. I see things on TV. Sometimes the newspaper. I still read a newspaper every once in a while. So it's just generational difference. And we're the same age, by the way. I just look terrible. All right? Strong leadership. You've heard about it yesterday. They had an entire panel of people up here talking about leadership. But it takes strong leadership for a team. But it also takes people who understand that they're being led. You have to have worker bees. If you don't have worker bees, nothing gets done. Closed loop communication. Okay. Somebody stand up. Two people stood up. I said, somebody stand up. Two people stood up. Three people stood up. Cool. You can sit down. Travis Chipman. Can you stand up? Thank you. How many people stood up? One person. That closed loop, assigning somebody, knowing what the role is. I've told him, I know who's supposed to do it. That's the person, okay? So we can talk about how to do that. And then this is something that really hit me hard when I heard it the first time. People don't leave a job, they leave a leader. When you look at attrition, when you look at workforce attrition, when people leave their jobs, as a whole, if they're not moving up the ladder, and that happens a lot, right? There are people who have starter jobs, they get better, they move up. Those people, well, I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about people who have high-level jobs that are good at their job, they like their job, but they leave their job. Why do they leave their job? They leave their job because of the leadership, and they leave the job because of the leadership directly above them. They don't leave because of the CEO. They leave because of the leader directly above them. So understanding how to be that leader